is shipped to the wineries and municipalities to the south. The sacrifice is our salmon runs. And they could say, oh, you wouldn't have that flow this time of year anyway. Well, we used to have a heck of a lot more flow before all the straws were in the cup. And if we had that water to devote to the eel, salmon would be here right now. And some of them would spawn early. And some of that would hatch. And that early host would start to build up our runs again. And what we don't see around here, people can't figure out that we're missing a lot of the time. It's still beautiful here. It's so beautiful. But we're missing our salmon runs. Everyone's life here would be enriched if we had those salmon runs. Can you feel it? Here's the flow of the eel as it leaves the big hole by River Lodge, up there by the hotels, along 12th Street and the levee, where no one built anything for decades because of the 64 flood. But did you know we basically can't have a 64 flood again, because never again will you have hundreds of mills on the Eel River where log decks full of huge old growth trees break loose in the flood and make it that much worse, destroying the riverbanks, knocking everything down, plugging everything up, making the flow worse than it should have been. That's what they don't talk about. So now you see all these little willow trees? This didn't just sprout up this year. This survived 120,000 CFS going over it, because that's what a river does if it doesn't have Greyhound bus-sized logs smashing it. So it's time to help this river scour itself out again and help these riparian areas establish again so that the river can create a channel and holes and different diversity. It's not a racetrack, it's not a firing range, it's a place where 1 million salmon are supposed to be. We need that back. I've just paddled across this pretty nondescript flat water to this one stump with snags around it, and I could see surface activity. There's a school of pike minnow here. So this is called habitat. It's very limited in our river. Part of that, a big part of it, is that if a tree falls down and comes downstream, it gets taken immediately. You can't be a full tree on the Eel River Bar because you're too valuable. Someone will come take you. Someone will come cut you into pieces, turn you into fence posts, or whatever they can turn it into. And without stuff like this in the river, we can't have our river. All we have is a gravel floodplain that's perpetually too shallow, doesn't have armoring to create banks that'll push the river into a channel. And so we just go on and on with a shitty river. All my life I've learned about this. And I'm hoping that before I'm dead, really meaningful things start to happen in terms of providing the tools and the flow that our river needs to get healthy again. The fish will come back. We've got to reverse the process that has lowered the carrying capacity of the eel to support salmon. There's another group of snags up there, and I see fish on the surface up there too. They don't just hang out in the open, they'll get picked off by birds. The water's crystal clear. So they've got to have habitat. It seems like we're too afraid to put stuff in the river, like it'll just get washed away. Well, a lot of it doesn't. I see the same stumps in the same places. Look at the ones right below the summer bridge at Holmes. Those stumps have been there a long time, long as I can remember. There's one right under the 101 bridge at the low end of the South Fork at Dyerville. That stump's been there eons. Fish spawn right by it. There's a stump just upstream of the River Lodge, between there and East Ferry, right in the middle of the channel. It's been there a long time. So a single stump here and there isn't doing it. We need like tens of thousands of these structures and back channels, bywaters, more riparian. It's really not a hard formula. It's just a matter of the will of the public to spend some money on something that they don't necessarily value or understand or believe in. But mark my words, we get our salmon back, everyone here will benefit. Everyone. Fish haven't even arrived yet, and this snagging machine's already all algaed up. Beautiful, right? Too bad. Too bad. The truth of it is, it's like an algae-ridden creek around here. Why should we have to have that on our major river, while the Russian River, which is basically just an oversized creek, sorry Russian River people, why should it be flowing like a river all summer and into the fall, and we are this algae-ridden creek with little beautiful riffle spots after hundreds of yards of slow algae-ridden water? There's easy answers to this. It's all about people and their needs and desires and money. Paddled and walked my paddleboard down below the island, below 12th Street, all the way to Palmer Boulevard here at the old Drake Sand and Gravel, the Drake Hole. Last year, the Drake Hole, you can see a piece of rock up there. The water was all the way up past that. So all this gravel is new, and it has filled most of the hole. So one of the last holes on the lower river, above tidewater, is greatly diminished, if not effectively gone. I'm going to investigate, paddle around, see if I see any fish. But this is just another chapter in the degradation of the eel. And last year there were 400 kings that were circling around in here for a couple weeks, waiting for adequate flows for migration. And that space is gone now. Wurswick, where they like to hang out right above Fernbridge, complete algae, shallow ridiculousness. So I don't know what the fish are going to do, but I'm going to try to find out, and I'll keep you updated. The place formerly known as the Drake Hole, Drake Sand and Gravel at Palmer Boulevard exit, reinforced with this concrete along the edge. The river runs up against this, and it had created a hole that was 10 to 12 feet deep, where the 400 salmon were milling around right where I'm standing now for weeks last year. Now there's no room for salmon. There's a riffle right over there. There's a few little steelhead half-pounders hanging on it. I paddled all around, didn't see any adults. After the wettest year in my lifetime last winter, this is our river. Disgusting. Here it is, a mighty Drake Hole. I'm standing right where those salmon wanted to just stay, circling around for weeks. So where are they going to be now? Not many options. How many people who live here would even notice if they weren't even here at all? Why are we even here? Carve out as cush a life as you can as the individual that you are. Maybe watch out for your family and friends, but basically it's dog eat dog. It's just getting worse and worse. It's what I learned when I was a kid, but just getting worse and worse. There's hope though. There's always hope. Here's the old boxcar hole. There is no hole. Zero. Nothing. There's no hole here. I'm heading up towards the homeless hole right at the Fortuna exit, north end of Fortuna. See how much of a hole's left there. It can get pretty depressing down here on the lower river. And my point is, something needs to be done. We can't just sit on our hands. It's been almost 53 years since the '64 flood, and there's still kind of this fear hanging in the air. Well, what if we do something and it gets washed away? Let's do something. Okay, I just paddled up here into the homeless hole, and it's filled in too. Maybe some spots are 4 or 5 feet deep back there. Up here where it used to be an actual hole, 10 feet or so, it's 2 feet. And here's the riffle coming into the hole. About half the flow of the river is on this side of the island and half is on the far side to the west. And that's probably not helping. But after last year's heavy flows, prolonged heavy flows and multiple high flow events, here we are in the lower river. Nothing's scoured out better. 12th Street's even a little shallower and skinnier. And Homeless is gone, Drake is gone, Wurswick is gone, Boxcar hasn't been there for a few years and now it's even worse. Basically, it has to rain enough for the fish to bump all the way into 12th Street. That's the only place where there's room to hang out. And maybe that's good because that'd be a hard one to poach at. Harder than Wurswick and here and Drake. So we'll see what happens. Pray for the river.